Good morning and welcome back to 500 Doors. I'm Kim Hayden, your host. And hey, if this is your first time stopping by, welcome. Here at the 500 Doors Real Estate Podcast, we're talking all things real estate from investment to development to actually selling it. And we're here to help guide you to become the best agent you can be in real estate, learning to serve and leadership. So, I just want to give a quick shout out. If you have a chance, we have our new quarterly publication dropping this month called 500 Doors, where we feature different agents from around the nation and what sets them uniquely apart. The agents that you meet on this show are definitely unique within their industry. So today's guest is Sandi Lyn. She is a jack of all trades with a truly dynamic and domineering background. Get this, a former US Marine OIF OEF veteran. I'm going to ask her what that means. A bachelor's of business administration degree, and even served as a plans analyst for the DoD. In 2016, Sandi Lyn started her real estate business and has been creating new and innovative strategies and processes for clients, colleagues, and business owners in other industries, and ever since 2016. Now, in 2018, she switched to eXp Realty and started her own organization and now works with agents in over 12 states. In 2022, Sandi Lyn co-founded the startup company, Virtuplicity. I'm going to have to figure out why the name and what it does. Dedicated to scaling small businesses through the integration of virtual assistants, all accomplished despite a 70% VA disability rating. So let's get Sandi in here. And there you are, Sandi. Welcome. Also, I thought I'd put you back in the green room. You're here. Awesome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kim. Well, that's a lot to unpack, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's start with first, give me a little pre-frame as to who you are, what part of the country you're currently in, and where are you originally from?
Okay. Well, I live in and am from the Midwest. I'm in Iowa. Everybody that I've ever said I'm from Iowa or I'm in Iowa, they're like, "What's in Iowa?"
You
And I'm
are.
always like, pigs. Basically pigs. I'd love to say corn, but that's Nebraska. So yeah, we have corn, we have soybeans, and we have pigs. That's basically what we are. And honestly, it's actually great. It's very simple, but it's not boring. We have lots of breweries. It's actually the perfect balance of fun and good times.
You know what? As a Kansas girl, you can take the girl out of the Midwest, but at the end of the day, it's just like there's just something uniquely Midwestern, right? It's just those core values. I think there's a lot of still the Midwest still has some very strong hearth and home core values. It's a very different mentality.
And you know what's nice about it, especially for real estate, is it's stable.
Yeah, that's the thing. Kansas, same thing. Wichita, yeah, they had a bump this year, but they had a well-deserved bump. When you could still buy houses for 80K in Wichita, Kansas, and I mean, we're talking there's some Frank Lloyd Wright houses in there. There's some, I mean, beautiful architecture, and you can walk in and get something for 80K. Okay, I live in Calgary now, and 80K won't get you a shed out back of a house here. So, yeah, they deserved the 30% bump, but they're not going to see any slide. When the market settles, they won't see slide. Is that kind of your market also? You don't anticipate
Exactly.
slide? Yeah.
And what's interesting is where I live, it's right on the border of Iowa and Illinois. So it's a place called the Quad Cities, 2 cities in Iowa, 2 cities in Illinois. So most agents here are dual licensed.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, and I've seen a lot of that, like on the East Coast, where everything's mashed together. I've seen agents that are part of like 4 and 5 boards, whereas here in Calgary, it's like one board for, we have 1.5 million people. in this one area. So it's easy to work under one board. Um, so for real estate, I want to unpack a couple things. First, I'd like to know about your VA disability, if you're open to sharing.
Hmm.
My sister was in the Air Force for quite some time, and she also had a VA disability due to just reoccurring injuries through PT. What can you share yours? Or are you open to that?
I think one message that I would like to get out there for veterans, first of all, not all disabilities are visible. Um, so for the whole public, my disability is hidden, you know. Um, I actually, it was really funny. I was talking to somebody and I was letting them know that I was a disabled veteran. And this person goes, "Well, good thing it doesn't affect you every day." And I was like, "It does." And so, there are hidden disabilities. My disability comes from PTSD. And so basically, you never know what somebody else has been through, basically. So, and for veterans, what message I would like to get out there is they tell you when you're getting out to make sure that you file right away, or else you'll never get a rating. And that is not true. I got out in 2005 and I was too proud. I let my pride get in the way of filing for anything. And I told myself I wouldn't file anything unless it affected my life. And in 2017, my husband put his foot down and he was like, he made me. He was like, "You're going in and, this is affecting your life." And so he forced me to file. In 2017, I got a 70% rating. And so it's never too late to file.
Well, and I would think that with the navigation that is needed to live confidently and constructively within the framework of PTSD, that this actually lends to you in real estate, in understanding, that client compassion and care. Can you give us some examples of how you're using or leveraging your disability, that what others would view as your Achilles heel or your weakness, to
Mhm.
be a superpower within real estate?
I had one client several years ago, and he had PTSD and he was extremely paranoid. And I was able to understand that his combativeness wasn't, I don't think any other real estate agent could have handled what he was, what he was throwing at them, you know, and I was able to handle him. And so I think that there's a lot that PTSD shows up in all different ways. And also PTSD doesn't just have to be like in war or anything,
Yeah.
I mean, it could affect doctors or nurses. And I mean, it could affect any, victim of any trauma. And so, for him, it showed up in major paranoia when there were showings occurring. He would see something out of place and he was very sure that people were coming back to his house, and just different ways of. And so I had to be, and where some agents would be letting him walk all over them, I was very stern with him. And I'm like, this is how it's going to be,
Yeah. Well,
And
that is setting uh, the position of the real estate agent. A lot of new agents don't understand what their position is, and so they don't take control of. I mean, that's really, at the end of the day, what we are. Is we are the guides within something that, we'll do. Like I've done over 1,500 real estate transactions myself, and I mean, people would have to be moving, you know, every other week in order to have the same experience personally in
mhm.
real estate. So it is actually somewhat negligent when, as a real estate agent, you aren't able to open the dialogue and say, listen, my job is to protect you, to support you, and to ensure you maximize the return on your investment. So you need to let me do that.
I've
So
been doing a lot of videos lately talking about it is our job to like basically not let our clients walk all over us. You know, if what good are we if not to advise our clients and all of this experience that we have? And so it's incredible when these new agents are letting the clients kind of drive the train around.
I think that for a lot of new agents, that is actually because of lack of mentorship or leadership, right? So
Hmm.
when we Google real estate coaches, you see Ramsey and you see Buffini and you see there's these top coaches, but it's very hard to find somebody on a local level. And I know that you mentor a lot of coaches, or a lot of real estate agents. Am I understanding that you actually touch and branch out and mentor other agents? What is the biggest misnomer for new real estate agents that you come across that you have to educate on?
Um, I think it would be, I mean, first of all, how they spend their time. I mean, 100% how they spend their time. They think that there's not enough time in the day to actually do real estate.
Yeah.
Before they realize it, they, spent a whole day not doing real estate. And then they come to me like, oh, Sandi, I don't have time to do real estate yet. I think I'm going to be successful in real estate. So that is where I definitely have to sit them down and get them to understand how to make real estate a priority. I think that is that's the biggest hurdle I had to get over myself, was sitting down and being like, whatever you put your mind to or your time to is what you are going to be successful at. Hmm.
Absolutely. I know that the National Association of Realtors statistics show that the average real estate agent reports only working 30 hours a week. And yet the average real estate income is under 50,000 a year. Why do you think that the average real estate isn't doing 40 hours? Why do you think that so many agents think flexible hours are negotiable hours? Um, and what are some of the strategies you would advise those agents to first turn that 30 hours into truly productive hours? What can they get rid of and what can
Hmm.
they do better?
Well, first of all, they don't have to. Okay, so one of my biggest things is don't spend money that you don't have to spend money on. So don't buy listing signs until you have a listing. Don't waste your time on listing presentations until you have a listing presentation to do. Don't waste your time on scripts and things like that until you actually have clients that you're standing in front of. I would rather see you fail 100 times on the phone calling people and figuring it out, just talking to them, treating them as humans. You'll figure it out. Actually being productive, you know. People like, it's almost like that boxer, and they're just gearing up and they're about to do it and they're about to do it and they're getting the back rub, but then they never go in the ring. They like never go in the ring. And it's
Yeah.
just ridiculous. And they're just embarrassing themselves because they never go and do it. And so the biggest advice that I would have is go embarrass yourself. Go fall on your face 1,000,000 times. That is what I had to do. I have a ton of stories and I tell them to this day. I mean, I will laugh until I pee my pants. I will laugh until I'm crying with friends about the times that I just completely embarrassed myself and did the wrong thing. Or I mean, I have lost clients like saying the wrong thing at a showing, or the wrong thing on the phone, the absolute wrong thing. And see, I am like a jokester, and I'm very much myself. How I am right now is exactly, this is me, 100% in front of everybody. And so I'll test something out, and like sometimes it just does not work. And so, and then I know, like, for next time, never say that again, or never do that again, or read the room in a
Read the
different way
room.
next time.
Yep.
And so, but you will never, ever make money sitting back, perfecting that listing presentation, perfecting that logo, perfecting that like cute little email signature, like all that stuff. None of that's going to make you money. Nobody cares about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We get busy on creating the logo and we have no business. And I get that. I do get that. Networking. What is the your top icebreaker when you go into a new networking space, be it virtual or live?
Oh man, that's a good question. Um, Top icebreaker. Honestly, my icebreaker is just to walk up to whoever's not talking to people. Who,
Find the person that looks lost.
yeah,
Become the
because
guide.
they appreciate it. And you know what? Honestly, those have been some of the people who have referred business to me, who have had my back forever, or who were like the hidden gem that like people didn't know were like an actual, it's really interesting, people that were actually underestimated, and then people figured out who they were by the end of the party, you know?
Yes. Yes. I mean, we all don't look like selling sunset. Or,
Mm-hmm.
the reality is that's not real world. I remember back when I was a kid, this is a long time ago. My mom worked with in a low vision center. She was an assistant to these, helping people with state of the art laser vision at that time, right? And I remember her coming home and telling me about how one of the young doctors that went looking for a new car went to a Mercedes dealership with his wife, and he had just finished paying off his student loans and everything, and they had bought a new house, a big beautiful house, but him and his wife were painting the entire thing themselves, and they go in covered in paint and overalls, and do they look like they could afford a Mercedes? No. What does that look like? So then they left and they went to another dealership, and I think it was like Cadillac, and and the Cadillac people, and the brands may be off, folks, but the story is exactly what it was. The
Mm-hmm.
next dealership treated them like gold, and they sold two brand new vehicles cash. So I
Boom.
think that really lends it to what you're talking about is, do not assume that somebody cannot afford your services or somebody is not connected because everybody's not talking to them. Be the one that finds those hidden gems. So
Exactly.
I want to talk about what is the name of your virtual? Yeah, share that with me, because that's like a huge pivot off of, I mean, real estate, in the sense that that's all tech stuff.
Well,
So tell
yeah, and
me.
it's not quite. So virtuplicity is virtual and duplicity mushed
Okay.
together. Um, and it's not quite a huge stretch. In 2021, I got my first virtual assistant, and that is kind of common in real estate, to start advancing into getting your first assistant. And sometimes people get their first virtual assistants. Now, this is where kind of having been a Marine comes in handy, and this is kind of crazy. So back when I was in the Marine Corps, I actually had the fortune of having done a special operation of traveling to the Philippines, which is where a lot of virtual assistants are staffed from.
Mhm.
And I traveled to the Philippines in 2002, and these Filipinos blew my mind. They were the most talented, hardworking, epic people, highly educated, just incredible. I would walk past them singing in a bar, and they were singing like a Britney Spears song better than the Queen herself. It was just, they were nailing it left and right. Whatever the mission was, it was just incredible. So it's crazy how fast forward through the years, I never, ever considered a career in real estate, never thought I'd hire a virtual assistant. And then now that I had one, and it took us, Karen and I, it took us several months of finding our groove. January of 2021. It took me a few months of trusting her. And then once I started trusting her, I totally overloaded her after the fact. And then by January of 2022, she's like, all right, you need to hire more help. But then by then I'm like, well, I paid so much to procure her, I don't know about outsourcing this again. So she seemed confident that she could, kind of handle this. And she did a bang up job. She handled this herself. I set up a bonus structure for her, a very generous bonus structure. And she, she vetted these candidates, through, she vetted them hardcore, through computer requirements, language requirements, let alone the job requirements, all the interviews. So I just showed up to the final interviews. She found me 2 candidates who were so good and so different that I had to hire them both. So now I had 3 full-time assistants on my small, 5-person team. And I thought one virtual assistant was amazing. Karen exploded my business. And now I have 3 who, watching them talk to each other and collaborate on projects, I'm like, they're unstoppable. They are unstoppable. They're building out my websites. They're doing things that I have no knowledge of. It's incredible. So I asked Karen, I'm like, what would you say about, doing this for other people? She's like, yeah, this brings me a lot of joy. And I've seen there's plenty of other VA companies out there.
Yeah.
But where I've seen them fail, not the companies themselves, but real estate agents. And I feel that not just real estate company or real estate agents could use VAs. I feel like other companies can use VAs just as well. So I would like to provide this service to other companies. But where the ball is dropped is they are never fully and properly integrated into somebody's business. And when Karen and I found our groove and figured it out, it was very special.
Yeah.
And we would like to basically give this gift to other businesses.
So we know in real estate, the real estate agent's money maker is them. So getting in front of people, either on the phone, at an event, at a listing evaluation, even an open house, a community event, that is where your money and your time should be spent, because people do business with you because they know you, like you, and trust you. What are the top 3 things that you see real estate agents get bogged down in that suck up their time and energy that really should be done by a virtual assistant?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so my transactions after I make a deal, unless unless it involves me negotiating again or needing to speak with my clients, I never see that transaction again. I am freed up to go make more money. Imagine that. Imagine that, folks. Being booked on this podcast. I didn't book myself on this podcast. My virtual assistant did. I mean, that's not a top thing, but it was an idea that we had going to do. Let's see. I mean, there are so many amazing things. Obviously, like I said, building out my website, I would never want to just sit down hammering all of those details out. Lead gen, lead follow-up. I want to be the face of the business. I want to be the person on the phone. I want to be the person in front of you, but I never want to be the person behind the computer. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love being creative. I want to be able to make like TikToks and reels and do all that fun stuff, or be on your podcast. You know what I mean?
Yep. And that's basically, this is networking. This is another form of networking. And I find that a lot of real estate agents, especially younger, newer ones, the challenge is that, and this is why we're seeing soft skills courses that are actually coming back online in colleges and universities across the United States, that there is this certain challenge within the face-to-face interface, like that networking aspect. And we've gotten more comfortable sitting behind a keyboard, that navigating keyboards give us an opportunity of reverse and delete and
Yeah.
all these other things. Whereas when you go face to face with somebody, that's like you said, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And we learn. But that's also when people learned to know, like, and trust us. And that's critical. There was a survey done by Direct Sellers Association that was in the Direct Sellers magazine. And if you're in sales or in entrepreneurship, do look up this magazine. It's not about the direct selling of selling Amway or anything like that, but there's really interesting surveys and statistics that they're doing all the time as to why the general public does business the way that they do business. And they did a survey, and they surveyed, it was like 1,000 people. And in that survey, they asked them, what was the last product you bought? And, who did you buy it from? 80% of the people they surveyed could not remember what they purchased, but they remembered who they purchased from.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? 80% cannot remember what they purchased, but could remember who they purchased from. So that's the real power of what your brand is. And by alleviating through virtuousity.
You got it. And by the way, this company's like only a month old.
That's
it is
awesome.
A fresh startup. We just we just started with our first clients. I mean, it is fresh.
So if you want to be a guinea pig, call Sandi Lym today. You can be a guinea pig. But there's secrets to success. The fact is you're not coming in this with, a 10th grade education. You have an education behind you. You have the experiences behind you. So, if anybody can make something work, it's somebody that already has the infrastructure within themselves set up.
And speaking of infrastructure, I have these Trello boards that these agents drool over. And so like my top package is that I include these Trello board templates.
I love Trello. Actually, Trello, white label Trello is one of the assets I use for podcast sequencing and project management. So Trello, if you don't know what Trello is, contact Sandi Lyn or myself, and we'll introduce you to. It's a really great product. It's a
so
good visual
automated.
product.
It's so amazing.
What does community mean to you, Sandi Lyn?
Community means to me, basically that people I mean, know, like, and trust you, or that they have the opportunity to lift you up, or that maybe they would notice you being gone. So, this podcast, or this is actually my first public appearance since being gone since Friday. I was dead to the world. I was so sick over the weekend. Actually, last night when you sent me the link to the podcast, I was like, "Oh, am I actually going to make it?" And I did. Resiliency. I was like,
Absolutely.
I am going to make this. I'm going to rise from the dead. I was so sick over the weekend, and I'm like, "Nope. I'm done being sick. This is it. I'm recovering." But what was neat is that a lot of people noticed I was missing, and they're like, "Where have you been? Need anything?" To me, that's community. Also, community. We do an event for our community every year. Being veterans, we have the Marine Corps Birthday Bash, and actually people travel to it. So it's not just in our community, but we do the Marine Corps Birthday Bash every year, November 10th. And it's just a huge party. It's a huge way for us to give back. The Marines, we hold our birthday in very high regard. Like, literally, my birthday is March 13th. Not anymore. It's November 10th now that I'm a Marine. And so it is just our huge celebration. And so it's my way of giving back. And Marines and veterans eat and drink for free, and we celebrate all night. And it's just a great time. And that's one event that I do in the community. And it's, a way for us to gather. So community is another word is gather, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bringing people together for a common goal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Where can people reach out to you, especially if they're looking at offloading the things that don't make them money so that they can go make more money?
Yeah. So, pretty much anywhere on social media, if you search for That Broker Girl, you can find me. So at That Broker Girl on Instagram, I'm most active on Instagram. That Broker Girl on Facebook. So those would be the easiest ways to reach me. And I would say start there.
What's your
DM
website
me.
address?
SandiLyn.com. You can find me there.
SandiLyn.com. And there's no E's after the Lyn or the Sandy. So
And yeah, so it's SANDILYN. It's one N. So my mom wanted to make my life extra difficult.
At least everybody can pronounce your name.
That's why I steer people towards That Broker Girl, because it's just
trying to make simplicity through the virtual world, through the mentorship and real estate, mentoring your clients, mentoring other agents, just taking leadership within your space. That is, and that's what we need to see more of, is leadership within the space of serving others. And that is amazing, Sandi Lyn. It really is. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim. I had a great time. This is a great show.
Before we go, can you close us out with a quote that means something to you?
Oh, goodness. Okay. A lot of life's failures. I wrote this down, but now it's not good. I'm going to mess it up. A lot of life's failures are from those who gave up before they succeeded. That's a Thomas Edison quote. I filled it out. Did I get it?
Let's take a look.
They were so close to success.
Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they are to success when they gave up. Thomas Edison. And just so you know, Edison never looked at failures. He looked at feedback. He looked at every time something broke, caught on fire, blew up, did not ignite, as an opportunity of feedback as to how he could perform better. So the next time something breaks, blows up, melts down, sets on fire, this is just feedback, folks. Get up, brush off, move forward, because you never know. You're probably just 3 feet from gold. So, Sandi Lyn, thank you so much. I am super excited and love to hear more about your business as you grow it, because I really think that helping agents become better agents by standing in their space is a huge um, initiative. It's a really worthwhile cause. And I
Thank
appreciate
you
you
so
taking the
much.
leadership in that. All right, folks. Until next time, this is 500 Doors, because behind every door is an opportunity. And I'm your host, Kim Hayden. Be sure to join us each and every time here at 500 Doors and serve your community. Get out there. People will know you, like you, trust you, and love you.